It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10, our top story. The Labour fight back begins in Liverpool as the Prime Minister brands reforms plan to scrap indefinite leave to remain as racist and immoral.
There's been a few choice words from government about you potentially plotting some sort of leadership challenge. Is that wide of the mark?
I'm not doing interviews in the street, I'm sorry.
But a warning from the man who some want to replace him. Andy Burnham says the party should not underestimate this moment of peril. In Ukraine, the elderly and the young are rescued from their homes after hundreds of Russian drones and missiles are fired overnight. At least 2 people have been killed after a man rammed his car into a Mormon church in Michigan, started shooting and set the building on fire. And America staged a comeback in the Ryder Cup in New York after the tournament was marred by jeers from a hostile crowd. Plus, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages. That's coming up in our press preview from 10:30. Hello, good evening. The Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, may be facing sliding poll ratings and questions about his leadership, but today he pledged to take the fight to reform as his party's conference began in Liverpool. His first move was to brand a Reform UK policy of scrapping indefinite leave to remain, which could lead to hundreds of thousands of legal migrants being deported, as racist and immoral. And as the man tipped to be his likely challenger warned the party not to underestimate this moment of peril, Mr Starmer insisted he was not sticking his finger in his ears. Sky's political correspondent Tamara Cohen has this report.
Taking to the stage in need of some wins, here's Starmer congratulating those who'd campaigned for a Hillsborough law.
A law which shows that this government is on the side of justice, that we will do the hard yards for working people, and that we're building a country which sees and respects everyone.
He contrasts that with the policies of Reform, who've proposed deporting some people with indefinite leave to remain in the UK.
I do think that it's a racist policy. I do think it's immoral. It needs to be called out for what it is.
And do you think that Reform UK is trying to appeal to racists?
No, I think that there are plenty of people who either vote Reform or are thinking of voting Reform who are frustrated.
Strong language about his opponents. Meanwhile, the Home Secretary wants the rules for future migrants to be tightened up. Reform's deputy leader, Richard Tice, accused the Prime Minister of being terrified of his party. And this may be why. A new seat-by-seat poll says an election held today would see Labour lose most of its 412 seats. That sea of turquoise is Reform walking into Downing Street with 373. Challenges from within as well.
Are MPs still calling you?
Andy Burnham, who says he's been urged to take over from Sir Keir in Liverpool too. He told a private event the Labour Party was in peril.
What I would say to those who say that I'm speaking out purely for my own ambition, I can say to you all tonight, I am speaking out for the thousands of councillors here at this conference who were worried about going to those doorsteps next May.
Loyal cabinet ministers say now is the time to rally around their leader.
Now, we shouldn't be surprised that the British public are clearly, you see it in the polls, and Labour members aren't immune from this, they're part of the British public. People are angry with politics and politicians because of the serial broken promises we got from the previous government. They're angry with us now.
They're not angry with the person who's racking up 30% in the polls.
They're angry with politics and politicians at the moment.
The latest announcement about new towns. Labour hope a drive to build towns full of new homes will help win over disillusioned voters, but these projects do often run up against local opposition. One of the sites they hope to develop quickly is at Cruise Hill in the London suburbs.
House prices are out of control, so I think, you know, I don't want to be sort of a NIMBY about it. I value the green space as well, so I think as long as there's a balance being struck.
Definitely develop, but develop on land that's already developed. Like, there are so many industrial estates that have got nothing on them.
They're not going to be affordable homes. You know, you look at the prices of houses up here, they are not affordable.
Where they probably won't build
new doctors, new schools, new, facilities for them. I just think it's a silly idea, really.
Towns will take some years. MPs are hoping there are quicker wins on the horizon. Tamara Cohen, Sky News, Liverpool.
Well, let's go live to Liverpool now, and our political correspondent Rob Powell. And Rob, the Prime Minister making what seemed a calculated decision today to brand Reform's policies as racist.
Yeah, Anna, conferences are a chance for political leaders to reassert and to reassure. Whilst, yes, the audience is the country, it's more directly the party. And I think given the whispers, the murmurs, the chatter about Keir Starmer's leadership, he needed to do both of those, reassert and reassure over the next few days, and basically find a convincing answer to the question, what is the point of this Labour government? Now, I think already today we are starting to get a pretty clear idea of what Keir Starmer thinks that should be. It is basically to stop Reform winning the next election. And he plans to do that through two routes, one old, one new. The old one is delivery, making people's lives tangibly better. The second one that's new that we saw today in that punchy interview he gave this morning is through a sharpening of the political strategy to deal with Reform, leaning into the fight with Nigel Farage and making it an argument about values rather than necessarily practicalities. But I think both of those routes have big roadblocks. I think on the policy front, many people around this conference are asking, how do you make people's lives tangibly better when there's not much money? We'll hear from the Chancellor tomorrow and she'll sit down and do interviews. The big moment for her, and on that front, really comes at the budget, though. But it's that debate that I think Andy Burnham is trying to get into at this conference when he talks about essentially changing the rules to allow there to be more borrowing. And then on the politics, the danger is, I think, for Labour, that they are losing votes on both fronts. So the aim of Keir Starmer coming out today and branding Reform's policies, or one of them at least, as racist, is to appeal to those voters that are being lost to the left flank. There is some evidence that they are losing more to other left-wing parties like the Greens and Independents than they are directly to Reform. So it's an attempt to reach out to them and start making an ideological argument. The danger, of course, though, is by saying that, you start to frustrate and alienate the voters that might be going from you to Reform. But that tension works in the opposite way as well. Tomorrow we'll hear from the Home Secretary a more sharper, spikier language about migration policy and the government's approach to legal migration. That's exactly the type of stuff that, yes, might appeal to Reform voters, but for all those voters that you're losing on your left flank to the Greens and the Lib Dems and people like that, well, that's the type of stuff that might not bring them back into the fold. So it is a tangled picture of politics and policy for Keir Starmer to navigate. I think by the end of this conference we will have a clearer idea of how Labour intends to do it, but big question marks about whether it's achievable and about whether Sir Keir Starmer is the man to achieve it.
We'll listen closely to those speeches tomorrow. Rob, in Liverpool, thank you. Well, now to a 12-hour-long bombardment described by the Ukrainian president as a vile and cowardly attack. Overnight, Russia unleashed nearly 600 drones and more than 40 cruise missiles across Ukraine. Now, Volodymyr Zelensky is suggesting Moscow is operating a shadow fleet to target European countries with drones. Well, there has been a surge in activity detected in the skies over NATO states. Earlier this month, NATO warplanes shot down Russian drones over Poland. The following week, Estonia said 3 Russian jets violated its airspace for 12 minutes, a claim that Kremlin denied. Well, several unidentified drones were detected in Denmark, even shutting the capital's airport. And overnight, drones were again spotted near military bases. Germany also reported drone sightings in the north of the country this week. And this morning, Poland scrambled fighter jets near southeastern cities when airstrikes hit western Ukraine. Our international correspondent, Diana Magni, reports.
A huge blaze just across the Russian border in Belgorod. Ukraine hitting infrastructure targets, causing power outages across the city. But if this is payback, then it is nowhere near the scale of what Russia had inflicted on Ukraine just a few hours before. A massive drone onslaught on cities across the country, but concentrated on Kyiv. Russia claimed it was targeting military installations, but these are civilian areas, and it is civilians caught up in these strikes. An old lady hauled from her smoke-filled apartment. A little girl whose home was just bombed by Russia. 595 drones and 48 missiles. And though air defence shoots down most, some still get through.
Our building is hidden from the road. It's in a quiet residential area and it's third floor. Usually drones fly over higher floors. It's shocking. We can't come to our senses yet.
Residential buildings and medical facilities were damaged. Unfortunately, there are people injured and killed.
4 killed, including a 12-year-old girl. President Zelensky calling on the international community to exert maximum pressure on Russia.
Russia is once again trying to hit Ukraine with a blackout this year. In fact, during these weeks, while the UN General Assembly was taking place, Russia literally used every day, every hour to strike Ukraine. Extremely treacherous strikes. And this is what defines Russia, what they do, not what they say or send out as signals around the world. They have spurned all genuine peace proposals and deserve truly tough pressure.
Russia is testing Europe too, with drone incursions in Poland, MiG fighter jets escorted out of Estonian airspace. Denmark reporting a host of unidentified drone incursions, with more overnight.
Drone movements into Poland in particular are a reminder that says that, look, Western air defences are optimised towards a handful of high-tech, powerful, cruise missiles or similar, not a flock of 30,000-pound attack drones and the like. So it's all a way of saying, do you really want to escalate? Do you really want to have more skin in the game? Because if so, just think of the threats.
Ukraine is set to begin exporting its own hard-won drone expertise. But it needs more and better air defence in return, with weaponry under NATO's so-called Pearl programme beginning to trickle in, produced by the US, paid for by European partners. Because Russia shows no sign of letting up. Diana Magnay, Sky News.
Well, Moscow has been accused of interfering in parliamentary elections in neighbouring Moldova. The vote threatens to undo work in recent years to build closer ties with the European Union. The country's election authority says the pro-EU party is in the lead, with 70% of votes now counted. At least 2 people have been killed and 8 others injured in a shooting at a Mormon church in Michigan. Donald Trump has described the incident as a horrendous, targeted attack on Christians. Well, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc was also set on fire by the suspect, who police have confirmed is also dead. It's understood the suspect drove into the front of the church before opening fire. Well, the local police chief has warned additional victims could be found once the fire is extinguished. He's just given this update.
Currently where we're at, an update, I gave you 10 victims who were victims of gunshot. Since then, we have 2 victims who are now deceased. One had died at a local hospital. And again, that suspect is deceased as well. 7 other victims at this time are in stable condition. 1 is in critical condition.
Hamas says it has lost contact with 2 hostages because of Israeli operations in parts of Gaza City and has called for Israel to suspend airstrikes for 24 hours so it says it can remove them from danger. Our Middle East correspondent Adam Parsons is in Jerusalem.
We believe there are 48 hostages left in Gaza, and it said that 20 of them are alive and 28 are dead. Now, Hamas said that during the big offensive that has started, that is trying to encircle Gaza City, it said a little while ago that it couldn't be held responsible for what happens to these hostages. It said recently that they were being redistributed around Gaza City. But now, in a sense, it is admitting some kind of sense of responsibility and stewardship for these people, because it is saying that that due to what it calls the barbaric attacks on Gaza City over the past 48 hours, that's their words, that they have lost contact with 2 hostages. Now, The forum that represents the families of these hostages has asked that they not be named, but Hamas says that it doesn't know where they are, that it wants to retrieve them, but to that end it has asked Israel to stop its aerial attacks. It's given a very specific location of where those attacks would happen. I have to tell you, recently, before I came here, the Israel Defense Forces put out a statement saying that they had attacked a tall building in Gaza City. Attacks clearly are continuing in Gaza City. So we await any kind of a response as to whether this could lead to some kind of delay.
Adam Parsons there. Well, an extraordinary Ryder Cup is underway. Let's get the details from Josh now in Sky Sports News.
Staying connected is vital for business. Sky Business sponsors this report.
Patrick, let's go back to the start of your time here at Genoa. You took over in mid-season. It's the first time you've done that as a coach. Talk to us about the journey that you've had and the pride at the achievement of securing safety this season in Serie A.
It was a big challenge. It was a big task. And of course, I take time to make a decision because knowing the difficulties to go to a club in a mid-season with a huge challenges on the field because the result wasn't the best. Challenges with injuries because the group of players had a couple of injuries and important players, and of course huge challenges because of the stability of the club outside of the field. So when you put all together, it was a big one. But I strongly believed that I had the capacity and the quality to make this football club remaining in Serie A. There is a strength around this football club. And of course, what as well was a massive part of the decision was the fan base, the atmosphere in the stadium. So when I analyzed the situation and looking at the potential of the club, I think everything's there for me to do a good job.
How much have you drawn on the experiences from the clubs you've already managed?
I think in every club that I've been, I had a huge reflection on myself as a coach, as a manager, and today I'm a different coach, different manager, because those experiences make me reflecting on myself about what to do to improve myself, to challenge myself and to be better. And I'm a different manager today than I was when I started with City under 21, when I started with l'OGC Nice, because those experiences make me more stronger and a better coach.
You mentioned Manchester City right at the very start there. How important was it for you to put the building blocks in place to learn your trade as a coach and as a manager so that you had longevity?
When I decided to go into coaching, I was clear in my mind that I wanted to do it for a long time of period. But to do that, you need to build credibility, you need to build experience. And at City, I was at the right place at the right time, and they gave me the opportunity to grow, to understand the job, and to start with the under 21, the development group, and then to have this kind of professional experiences in New York. So that really helped me to build myself on the coaching basics about the football that I want to play, the coach that I want to be, and I'm making step forward with all those experiences that I had so far.
Are you constantly evolving? Does the modern day manager have to constantly evolve?
I think the modern day coach has to be innovative, has to learn from himself about what he can improve, about how do you want to play the games, the tactical element that you want to use to improve players individually but collectively as well. Is about building this kind of relationship with the board, is about how do you manage 26 players, And I've been quite really fortunate because
Sky Business sponsors this report.
Yes, celebrations in New York, on Long Island. Celebrations too, which carried on long into the night after England's Red Roses beat Canada to win the Rugby Union World Cup yesterday. They didn't stop there. After a lively news conference, the players have been showing off their trophy to fans in London. Here's our national correspondent, Tom Parmenter.
The winners of the 2025 Women's Rugby World Cup, England!
Nobody wants to let this go. The euphoria of a World Cup win. And this squad that plays hard, parties even harder.
You can't go home until Zoe Allcroft goes home and that girl stays out late. So as you can imagine, it was a long night, but it was a great night. You know, we've got to celebrate. This happens, you know, what, once every 4 years or so. Yeah, you can't not celebrate.
They'd smashed Canada in the final. It was in front of a world record 82,000 fans at Twickenham. The moment they had worked so hard towards. Alex Matthews, who started out on her path as a 4-year-old. She and her sister had to play rugby with the boys, but they always stood out, often because they were better. Alex scored 2 tries in the World Cup final. The stuff of dreams for everyone at Camberley Rugby Club in Surrey.
It made me feel really happy and inspired, just knowing that Alex Matthews used to be here.
Because she tried it out, she's a professional. It feels like if you try, you can actually become really good.
60,000 women and girls are currently playing the game in England, which is enormous progress. But the RFU want to use this moment to push that far higher.
Women's rugby is one of the fastest growing sports, and there's new clubs coming and forming all over the country. And I think that this is just the start of something really big.
The Red Roses are already the best funded women's rugby team on earth. Yes, there's still a financial mismatch with the men's game, but this hasn't happened by chance. It's been mapped out and paid for.
We want to help lift little girls up. We want to show little boys what the girls are capable of. And we just celebrate each other, you know, being here today, celebrating the rugby. I know they've been huge fans of the Lionesses throughout the summer as well. And just, yeah, celebrating strong, powerful women being successful. So it's so good for the nation.
I saw the English flag being flown yesterday. That's why we fly the English flag, because we're proud of who we are, because sport is what brings us together.
From the dancing backs to the prop idols in this team, the Red Roses have earned the adulation. They are loving this spotlight and everything that comes with it. Tom Parmenter, Sky News, South West London.
Well, isn't it fitting that the next Ryder Cup will be held in Ireland on Europe's soil, because it was an Irishman, Shane Lowry, who managed to retain the Ryder Cup for Europe. Let's just look at these celebrations.
And there's going to be no fairy tale in New York, because Europe have retained the Ryder Cup. And the most dramatic afternoon here in the Big Apple. And more Irish history goes towards...
Well, Europe only needed to win 3 of the 12 singles matches today to take that precious gold trophy back home across the Atlantic Ocean. But goodness me, they made it difficult for themselves. Never be complacent. It looked that the USA was staging a really big comeback at the Black Course at Bethpage State Park Golf Course in Farmingdale in New York. That Long Island golf course, so near New York itself that it allowed a large and noisy crowd to come. And actually the games, certainly yesterday, really marred by abuse and what was called such obnoxious behaviour that extra security had to be brought in. But all swept away for Europe right now. Big hugs, as you can see. Shane Lowry absolutely delighted to take home the gold trophy for Europe. Not an easy course, known to be challenging. In fact, there's a sign, a red sign, which says the Black Course is an extremely difficult course, which we recommend only for highly skilled golfers. And weren't they on display during this Ryder Cup? At one point, it looked like it was going to be record-breaking. Back in 2017, the US hit that record of 19-9, 10 points ahead. That was the most points scored since a format change in 1979. Looked at one point that could be on, but not so today. In the singles, the Americans really staging a comeback, but they were so far behind after what we'd seen over the last couple of days that they could not do it. The flag of Ireland being waved proudly. County Limerick is where the next Ryder Cup will be staged. Europe fighting to retain it once again. Well, that was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we will take a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview tonight, joined by Theo Usherwood, political journalist, and the broadcaster and journalist Yasmin Alabai-Brown. Well, plenty ahead, including this on the front page of The Guardian. Their headline, Reform's racist migrant plans could tear Britain apart. The Prime Minister there ahead of the Labour Party conference. Back with all of that in just a moment.